Hey guys, if you're watching this video, you're likely looking to start with Airbnb, whether it's through arbitrage, whether it's through co-hosting, and you're unclear on how to pick a market to target in. This is one of the most frequently asked questions of all time is where do I start geographically? And that's entirely what this video is about. As a matter of fact, I'm going to walk you through the exact same 5-step market analysis process that I go through, that every single one of our mentee students go through, and we actually hold their hand through this process to make sure that the market is viable and that it makes sense. So my name is Vince, co-founder of Airpreneur, and I now have a 7-figure portfolio, and I had grown this Airbnb portfolio entirely by doing these steps through Airbnb arbitrage. So without further ado, let's dive in so that way you can be clear on deciding on what market to start in, so you know that your Airbnbs will make money. So first and foremost, let's actually assess the objective with doing a market analysis, because I think based on what you're looking for will determine whether or not the market is quote unquote good. As a matter of fact, some people don't even know exactly what to look for because they don't have experience yet with Airbnb. So just, given our years of experience in this, the objective that makes the most sense is to repeatedly find rental properties for Airbnb arbitrage and co-hosting that produce $1,000 to $3,000 per month profit each, right? I think that's important, is that you could do it repeatedly. You could repeat the process because one property probably isn't going to reach your income goals. And then the second thing is that it at least makes that $1,000 to $3,000 per month cash flow range, profit after all expenses. Now, if your objective is to hit 5K or month per more, or 5K or more per month per property, then you might be targeting a different market based on that objective, which honestly, those properties are few and far between. There's way fewer markets that allow that. But for most people, if you could find 5, 6, 7 properties that produce 1 to 3K per month each, and now you're making over 10K a month, a year, then honestly, most people's income goals can be achieved just through this model, and then you can pivot into bigger markets, bigger properties, etc. Right? So this is actually a snapshot of a big booking we got recently, and I just kind of wanted to show you that, this income potential is out there. Now, the second objective and goal we should have in mind here is finding an attainable market, right? Something that is actually within a 1 to 2 hour radius of you. Because here's the thing, is if I were to tell you that the secret market that produces tons of cash flow is a 4-hour flight from you, you're probably never going to take action, right? Most of you guys watching this likely have busy full-time jobs. You might have children, you might have a spouse, etc., and you just don't have the extra free time to dedicate 1 to 2 hours in a different city, right? Almost every single one of our mentorship students, they're looking for properties that are local to them so they can do it with the only 5 to 6 hours they have available per week, right? So I want to be able to give you that same luxury as well. As a matter of fact, this is a photo of me when I first started with Airbnb, and we were driving to a market that was 4 hours away from us. And honestly, if we had known better at the time, we actually could have found that there were plenty of really profitable properties within 30 minutes of us. And then after we went to the city that was 4 hours away, we launched plenty of them closer to us, right? So now, just a quick recap for those who are a little bit newer to this channel or newer to the concepts of Airbnb arbitrage and co-hosting. Why are these the tickets to financial freedom? I know that sounds kind of gimmicky, but the reality is for most people, that's absolutely true. So here's why. Basically, Airbnb arbitrage and co-hosting are models that allow you to leverage properties available for rent and list them on Airbnb. So if I were to give you a specific example, in arbitrage, we would be targeting a property available for rent, we would get it furnished and then list it on Airbnb and profit the difference every single month beyond rent and expenses. And I'll walk you through some math here in a second. Now, with co-hosting, it's very similar, but the difference is I'm not going to furnish it, the landlord's going to furnish it. So this may be a property that's already on Airbnb, it's just not doing that well, or a property that you convince them to furnish for you. Either way, you pay nothing, right? But you don't pay rent, and therefore you just collect a percentage to run it on Airbnb. So the best way to think about this is you're a short-term rental property manager, right? Same exact concept. And I'll walk you through the math on this now. So for example, if we were to look at a property on arbitrage, let's say the property did about 58K per year in annual Airbnb revenue. That's pretty average and standard for an Airbnb house, right? That would translate to about $4,500 a month in revenue. I actually made a typo here. So it would actually translate to $4,833 per month in revenue. So if you look at the math breakdown, so $4,833 per month in revenue, then we'll subtract $1,750 in rent in this example. And then you now factor in the cleaning and expenses. So cleaner, utilities, etc. Now we're left with $1,933 per month in profit in this Airbnb arbitrage example. Guys, that's insane, right? Like almost $2,000 per month in net cash flow profit per month off one property. And you didn't have to spend 50 to 60K to buy the property. You didn't even have to buy anything outside of furniture, which can be financed. Topic for another video. But the point is, the returns are pretty substantial, and there's not many rental properties out there that will get even close to that, like not even in the same ballpark range, right? So it's a really, really cool way to leverage properties that you don't need to buy. Now, co-hosting, again, very similar, guys. We're going to be offering to manage the property on behalf of the owner and then give them most of the profit while you take a percentage. So again, let's take that same example. The Airbnb does $4,833 per month in revenue. That we subtract the cleaning fees, $1,150, and expenses, right? So that leaves us with $3,683 per month in net revenue. So that's revenue after expenses. And now you take a 20% profit of that. That's $736 per month. Now, of course, that's not as much profit as the arbitrage example above, but you also took zero risk. You don't have to sign a lease. You don't have to buy furniture. You literally paid for nothing, paid $0 for that deal. So co-hosting is a tremendous way to scale an Airbnb portfolio, especially if you don't have good credit or a lot of cash. So both of these examples, though, are way less risky than buying a property and involve nowhere near the capital or experience needed to do that. Now, for reference, again, if you're new to this channel, that's exactly what I did to scale a now seven-figure portfolio in less than 2 years and become completely financially free and live the life of my dreams. And I'm telling you that because it was only 2 years ago when I was watching videos like this. So now this is actually the exact same model that our students use. So like Richard, for example, you can go ahead and watch this video. I'll put a link to it somewhere underneath here. He's now making $50K a month in a year of starting with Airbnb with us. So super inspiring story, and actually one of several students in that same boat. Now, okay, you're probably watching this and you're like, right, dude, great. Arbitrage co-hosting, I get it. Where do I start? I want to pick a market. Let's dive into the nitty gritty here, right? So first, there are 5 steps to identifying a market to start Airbnb at, right? And I'm going to walk you through each and every one, and it's super actionable and easy to understand, right? Now, the first thing is regulations. Now, just a disclaimer here, guys, this is not legal advice, but most markets nowadays do have some sort of regulations. There are very few cities that have regulations. This is not a bad thing, and it actually wards off competition and makes it a little bit more sustainable for you to operate because you're doing it legally by the books. Now, in this scenario, what I want to walk you through is, okay, your city may have regulations. Are they navigable or are they just impossible? So we've already accepted the fact there's regulations, right? We've accepted it. It's the truth. It's what we have to deal with. But are they worth pursuing, or is it just not worth our time? So let me give you an example. Navigable regulations for a short-term rental market might be something like a license or a permit. This is most cities, and this is a $100, $50 piece of paper. You fill out a form online. Usually you're accepted within 1 to 2 weeks. And you're off to the races, and that's it, right? Very, very simple, very, very basic. And just the fact that there is a permit warrants off a lot of other people who are not serious. That's good. That's more revenue for you. Now, an impossible regulation that I would give you an example of is it must be owner occupied and it must be their primary residence, and you have to have a minimum of 30 nights. Guys, not worth our time in that scenario, right? Like, I'm just going to go ahead and write that market off and say I'm not dealing with the headache here. But guess what? Usually in that scenario, there's a market right outside of that one that makes a lot of sense. So if it's local to you, you can usually find opportunity. So that's the first thing, is let's figure out, are the regulations navigable or impossible? If they're navigable, let's keep going. So now we're going to go to step 2. Now, step 2 is we want to assess revenue potential first, right? So what does this mean? This means we want to see proof of concept in the market that there are Airbnbs generating demand, that are Airbnbs making lots of revenue, like 50, 60, 70, 80K or more. Because here's why. If we go back to my math example above here, In order to get in the ballpark range of this, we need properties that produce at least 50K a year, right? So we just want to first see, is it doable? Like, is that realistic? So the example I'm giving here is Scottsdale, Arizona, and this is a snapshot of a software called AirDNA. Now, quick disclaimer, AirDNA has a lot of inaccurate data. Not everything on AirDNA is the end all be all, but there are ways to weed out and to filter through the bad data, so you're only looking at reliable data. I had already done this in this screenshot. Too much to talk through in this video, so if you're interested in that, maybe I'll make a separate video on it. But the point is, I just want to see proof of concept that properties are making money. So in this example, I'm looking at 5 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4-bedroom houses. Guess what? Every single one of these in this snapshot are making over $110,000 per year. That is a proof of concept of demand and high revenue in this example. So that's step 2. So now what we're going to do is, before start doing some actual calculations and whatnot, we want to make sure that, okay, there are properties right now that are making money, that have demand. Now we have to see, are there rentals available that will meet that demand, that are like, is there opportunity for rental properties, right? So in these 2 screenshots, I took a screenshot from a platform we like. It's called hotpads.com. It's just like Zillow. It's just like apartments.com and Trulia and all of the other MLS platforms. The difference on Hotpads is I can actually filter by for rent by owner listing. So I can actually just go right to the owner if I want to reach out to them. And in this example, I see 2 properties available for rent in the mid 3000s that are 4-bedroom house. That's a 4-bedroom house and a 3-bedroom house. And clearly they fit the mold. These are modern renovated homes. I would obviously flip through them a little bit more just to see if they meet that proof of concept. But what I'm trying to assess here is, are they houses that are well renovated, that they look like they could compete with some of these other high-end listings? So the point is, these 2 properties show me that there's proof of rental possibility, which is great. So now we're seeing some proof of concept here. So now we're going to keep moving on and actually do a deeper comparison of that exact thing. So here's what I did, is I actually took a specific example of a property that's crushing it in Scottsdale. This one's doing over $113,000 a year. And what I did is, I first wanted to look at the property to get some familiarity with it, which is, look at this. We've got a property that has a pool in the backyard. It's a nice modern renovated ranch, but it's honestly nothing crazy. I mean, you guys are looking at this property and it's not like a mansion. It's nothing extravagant. And what we're seeing is a property that is completable, right? So it's got a pool, it's renovated, it's a 3-bedroom, it can sleep about 7 people. So now what we want to do is, we want to go to the rental market on Hotpads or Zillow or whatever you're using, and we want to see that there are properties that would compete with that, and then do the math, right? So check this out. This property, it's renting for $39.45. It's a 4-bedroom, so it actually has more bedrooms than the property that's doing over $113,000. It's in the same location, and the backyard looks very similar renovation style on the home too. This is great news for us, because now we're seeing there are properties available for rent that have the same sort of style and attributes as properties making over 100K. So we're in a good spot, but now we need to make sure the math makes sense, and that takes us to the final step, which is, let's actually crunch the numbers. So in that same example, if it did roughly $113,000 a year in revenue on Airbnb, that's $94.16 per month in monthly revenue. Now we're going to subtract rent, $39.45, just like this property above, and then the expenses, let's just estimate about $1,300 a month. We'll even be conservative. Guys, this property theoretically would cash flow $41.71. So by the time of this recording, I think I'm going to reach out to this property owner and try to get this thing live, because this is a great arbitrage deal. But the point is, I see proof of concept now. I feel more confident diving into this market. So I hope that makes sense. Now, if you reach the end of this video, chances are you're like, okay, dude, how do I get rolling with Airbnb? How do I start my own arbitrage portfolio and achieve financial freedom? So you've got 2 options, and I've got both of them for you, right? So the first is, it's a little bit slower, but it's free, right? And that's actually just joining our Facebook group on Facebook, of course, and it's totally free. We go live in the group every single week, and we just reveal all the same strategies we use to scale to 7 figures, quit our jobs, and just live the life of our dreams. So you can join that group. Again, it's a little bit slower, so it might take you the same 2 to 3 years that it took me. You might make some mistakes along the way like I did, You may lose money along the way like I did, but ultimately you save some money now if that's your MO, right? Now, option 2 is way faster. As a matter of fact, my objective is to get you your first property in the next 60 days, 60 to 90 days. And that's actually a photo of Richard that I mentioned earlier, who's now making $50K a month with Airbnb. But this is our dedicated one-on-one mentorship with our team to quite literally hold your hand through starting your own 6-figure Airbnb business. So I would strongly recommend this option if you want to get cracking, land your first property in the next 60 to 90 days, and ultimately hit your goals in a year or less. So if you are interested in either of these options, there's a link for our Facebook group underneath this video in the description, which you could join for free. And then there's also going to be a link to schedule a consultation with us. It's a free strategy call with me and my team as well below in the video. And again, the call is totally free. There's an application to fill out prior to the call itself. We are pretty selective about who we take on board because we want to make sure they can be successful with this. But ultimately, we'll jump on the call and just assess whether or not it's a fit for you. If it's not, no worries, no stress. So guys, I hope you got value out of this video and you're excited to dive into Airbnb yourself. Again, my name is Vince. If you need anything, go ahead and drop a comment below so I can see what your thoughts are. Guys, good luck.